Hello guys. In this video, we will talk about the Navy in HOI4. I divided the video into two parts because there is much to discuss. If you want the second part, let's get 100 likes. So let's start figuring Navy out. Let's start with naval missions. When you press F2, the naval interface will pop up. Although the interface might seem daunting initially, using your Navy is easier than using your Army as it doesn't require any babysitting when properly set up. Each admiral can have up to 10 task forces under them, and has selected sea zones assigned to them. For optimal strike fleet composition, you'll need 4 carriers. Build only 4, the 5th one barely does any damage. Aircraft carriers are by far the most cost-efficient ship type. Build as many battle line ships as possible. You also need screening ships, 6 per ship in the battle line. There are a few types of ships that start in the battle line: heavy cruisers and super heavy battleships. Screening ships can be either destroyers or light cruisers. They are very good at dealing light attack damage, but they are quite expensive. There are 2 common Navy strategies. First is balanced fleet, with a strong battle line. This allows you to attack the enemy carriers early on. Second is LA cruiser fleet, with a focus on LA cruisers. The strategy of such a fleet is to destroy the enemy screening line, then kill the rest using torpedoes. There are 2 common Navy strategies. First is balanced fleet, with a strong battle line. This allows you to attack the enemy carriers early on. Second is LA cruiser fleet, with a focus on LA cruisers. The strategy of such a fleet is to destroy the enemy screening line, then kill the rest using torpedoes. Both strategies will work, but against AI the LA cruiser fleet is your best choice. Note that the LA cruiser strategy is countered by a cheap destroyer fleet. It is extremely important to protect your carriers. If your carriers get sunk, you will likely lose the battle. So you need to keep your own battle line alive, and sink the enemy's battle line, which allows your own battleships to start attacking the enemy carriers. At the same time, your battle line is vulnerable to torpedoes. Torpedoes absolutely obliterate enemy battleships, but can only attack those once the screening line has been destroyed. You need enough screening ships throughout the whole battle. My recommendation is 6 screens per battleship, such that you have a buffer before you reach 3 screens per battleship threshold. And now, I will show you few good templates for your fleet. First of all, we will discuss carrier. Aircraft carriers are the most cost-effective ship. Even if you have a small starting navy, you'll want to have 4 of these. Armor isn't necessary, since these operate from the back. Anti-air is good for shooting down enemy naval bombers, and reducing damage taken from them. You don't need radar or fire control, as those stats are useless for the planes. You'll want to use only naval bombers on your carriers for maximum effect. Next we will talk about battleship. If you are bound to the London Naval Treaty, you cannot build SHBBs, so you can build battleships instead. Here, we use the battleship armor too. The more armor you have, the less damage you take from light and heavy guns. These ships use the dual-purpose secondary battery too. The countries Great Britain, France, USA, Japan, start with this 1939 technology. Let's continue with the next type of ship. And it is a super heavy battleship. These behemoths are the best ship for a strong strike fleet if the enemy builds BBs. Their high armor negates even shots by battleships, and they can pierce normal battleships. Since they have much higher visibility than BBs, they will take more shots. Despite this, they still easily outtrade BBs. And for those who doesn't know this, BBs means battleships. Next type of ship is light attack cruiser. These ships provide light attack, making them excel at killing enemy screens. Defensively, these cruisers are all-rounders, decent armor to reduce damage taken from light guns, and their high speed combined with low visibility means they're hard to hit by heavy guns and torpedoes. These are the best ships for the screening line, but don't provide much screening for their IC cost. Make sure you have torpedo damage in your fleet, to exploit the gaps created once the enemy screening line has been destroyed. And now let's talk about refitting. Refitting is quite expensive, but massively upgrades your strike fleet. Armor refitting is never worth it. However, adding extra guns on empty slots is typically a good idea. Most importantly, there is one module you must refit for ships in your strike fleet, which is fire control, since these increase your hit chance from base 10% to 12.5% 15%, then 17.5% chance for fire control 1, 2 and 3. Ideally, make sure refitting ends just when the war starts. Now let's talk patrol. When patrolling, you want to detect the enemy before they detect you. After you've found the enemy, you can observe them from a distance, then call in a small strike force, or directly attack them using that patrol force. Be aware that the enemy will also be able to spot you. You'll want to be faster than the enemy at spotting, or they will destroy your spotting task force. If you want to use your patrol to fight skirmishes, put the task force at low or medium risk. If you want them only to be used for spotting, use never engage. Remember, you can use small strike forces if you want to catch small fleets, no need to waste all your fuel. When enemy naval bases that holding a strike force are far away, this hit and run tactic can actually work. You'll have won the battle before the enemy strike fleet arrives. And here ship FOT spotting enemies. The best design for a spotting task force is one cruiser, filled out with sonar, radar, and float planes and anti-air. You don't need to deal any damage with this, it's meant purely for spotting. Make sure to put it to never engage, and you'll have an extremely good spotting force. After you have spotted the enemy, let a specialized strike force clean up the enemy. The anti-air on this ship is an effective way of killing lots of enemy naval bombers that operate from the land, and reduce damage taken from them. And last topic for today is raiding. Convoy raiding in just one sea zone can already reduce trade route efficiency by 50%. Convoy raiding is one of the most important purposes of the Navy, cripple their trade routes, and you'll block their access to valuable resources like oil and rubber. Supply to troops overseas can also be blocked by performing convoy raiding. Troops on remote islands will attrition as a result. The best ships for convoy raiding are submarines. However, your strike fleet is also good at raiding if you can spare the fuel costs. Typically, players use around 10 submarines per sea zone. However, the more you have in a sea zone, the more convoys you will kill. There is no cap on the amount of ships sunk by a single task force. Even though I generally wouldn't recommend researching naval tech because the Navy start to support the Army. Make an exception for submarines. Submarines get much better over time. The 1940 submarine, when combined with snorkel, can be very hard to detect without proper patrol ships. Your subs get even better with the 1944 hull, combined with snorkel too. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, because it's really motivate to continue develop my channel. See you. And let's keep HOI4 on tips of fingers.